Today's topic is inventory valuation. In my earlier video, I've already spoken about the inventory valuation, and there were two methods I was talking about. First, being first in, first out, that is FIFO, that we had already discussed and we've done the sum. And another was last in, first out, which means whichever stock we had purchased lastly, that will be issued first, and that way it will move. So we will be solving the same sum that we had solved in case of FIFO, and now we are going to follow the second method, that is LIFO. So we'll make the format will be the same for LIFO as well, just the way it was in case of FIFO. So this is LIFO. Now you see, we will move to the question straight away. See, we will go synchronized way, chronological order. So first date that we have got is September 6th. But before that, see in the question it is given the stock in hand of a material as on 1st September 2019 was 500 units of rupees 1 per unit. So my balance will be 500 units, rupees 1. This was September 1. So my first date will be going to record the first date, that will be September 1. This was not receipt, it was not purchase, so nothing in receipt column. It was not payment as well, it was not issue as well, so nothing in the payment column. We can write over here issue, which is payment, and this is the receipt side, is basically the purchase. This is the opening balance, so we're going to write this in the balance column, opening balance column. That is, quantity was 500 and it was rupees 1 per unit. So 500 into 1, 500 will be my amount. Next, we will move to the next date that we have, that was September 6, where we had purchased 100 units for 1.10 rate per unit. So let's record it. September 6, 100 units. September 6, it will be written in the receipt column, 100 units for 1.10 cost per unit. Multiply 1.10 into 100, we get 110, which we have to write here in the amount column. Nothing was issued on that day, so we are going to straight away write this 100 over here, because you have to maintain the record 1.10 and the amount being 110 after multiplying. Then we will move to the next date that we have. The next date that we have is September 9. It was issue date, so 500 units were issued. September 9. We are going to record it over here. September 9. Nothing was received, no purchase made. Issue was of 500 units. Now we are following last in first out, which means we are going to first take these 500 units from the previous one, that is this 100 will be taken first, and then we will move to the previous lot of 500 of one unit cost. So we are going to split this 500 that we had written into two parts, where the first part will be of the latest stock that we have of 100 and the remaining 400 from the previous stock. So 100 will be for 1.10, that is the latest rate, and the previous one will be 1 rupee. So we get amount 110 and here we get 400. Now you see my balance have reduced after this because now we are remaining with only 100 from this unit because this 100 is gone from here, and from this 500 this 400 is gone, so 100 is remaining, and that 100 will be of the previous stock, the opening balance stock, that is 1 rupee. So we are going to write down what is remaining right now is the stock of 100 unit, 100 quantity, unit cost of 1, and the amount being 100. Now we are going to move to the next date after September 9 that we have, that is September 20. September 20, 700 units and the rate per unit being 1.20. So September 20 and 700. Recorded September 20, purchases were made for 700 units and the rate was 1.20. We have to multiply 700 into 1.20. Once we do it, we get 840, which we are going to record it over here in the amount column. Nothing will be written over here. No payments being made. We can write it below actually. 700, 1.20 and 840. No issue were made. So we're going to record this over here. 100 previous stock and 700 of the latest stock of 1.20 this time. Amount being 840. We are done with this date, which was September 20. We'll write it below. After September 20, we'll move to the question again. See, after September 20, we have got September 22, where issue of 500 were made. September 22. So, September 22, issue were made for 500, so there were no purchases. Issue of 500 was made. Now we see it is last in, first out. So this 500 will be issued from the latest stock of 700 that we had. So simply 700 is more than 500. So amount was 1.20. So per unit cost being 1.20, multiply 500 with 1.20, we get 600. So we will record it here, 600. After doing this, what remains in my balance will be 500 is gone from the latest stock of 700. So what remains right now of the latest stock is 200. 700 minus 500 and the 100 remains completely intact of my previous stock. So we are going to write it. The 100 remains intact of 1 rupee. From 700, 500 is gone. So 200 remains intact of 1.20 per unit. So we're going to write 100 into 100 and 200 into 1.20, we get 240, which we are going to record here. This is done. Now after this we are going to move to the next date that we have. The next date we have is September 27. 400 were purchased for 1.30. So let's write it. September 27, September 27, 400 units were purchased and my amount was per unit cost was 1.30. So 400 into 1.30, we get 520 as the amount. There were no issues on this particular date. We had this remaining and along with it a new thing that added a new batch that was a 400 quantity and 1.30 cost per unit, which comes to 520. After this was done, we're going to move to the next part of the question that we have, that is the September 22 is done. Now September 30, there was further issue of 500 units. So September 30, further issue of 500 units. September 27 and September 30, 500 units were issued. So September 30, 500 were issued, nothing purchased. 500 were issued. This 500 will be taken from which lot? See, the latest lot that we have only has 400 unit. So the other 100 we have to take from the previous unit, that is 1.20 batch, that one. So let's do it. First of all, split this 500 into two parts. 400 from the latest stock and then 100 from the previous one. So break it 400 and 100. 400 from the latest stock, that was priced at 1.30 per unit, and the previous one that we have is 1.20. We will multiply both of them, that is 400 into 1.3, we get 520. We're going to write it here, and this one being 1.20 into 100, we get 120, which we are going to record it over here. Now after this is gone, you see there will be some changes. See, the latest 400 is gone from here, and from this 200, 100 is gone. So 100 remains and the previous lot 100 remains. So let's record it. That is 100 of the old stock remains of 1 rupee, and 100 from the second lot that we have of 1.20 also remains. Nothing of 1.30 lot remains. So this is what is left with us after multiplying. So this is our recent value that we have. Now after September 30 is done, we will move to the next date that we have, that is October 13 of 1000 and 1.40. So let's move. We have got October 13. So on October 13, we can see that there was 1000 units purchased for 1.40. So 1000 units purchased for 1.40. If we multiply 1000 with 1.40, we get 1400, which we are going to record over here. There were no issues on that date, so nothing will be recorded here. And this 1000 for 1.40, this will be recorded here, an amount being 1400. So this is what is left with us. Now we are going to move to the next part of the question after October 13. After October 13, we have got October 15. You can see October 15 Date we have 500 issues. So let's record it. October 15. Got 500 issues. So there were no receipts. Issue of 500. Now let's see from where we get this 500. You see, this 500 will be straight away deducted from the latest stock that we have of 1000. So it will be priced at 1.40 per unit cost. So multiply 500 with 1.40. Once we do it, we would get 700. After this is done, now the latest thing that we have over here is this doesn't remain 1000 anymore, the latest stock. It is 500 right now. And this 100 and this 100 units remain intact. So let's record it. 100 for 1 rupees remain as it is. 100 for 1.20 remains as it is. But the 1000 stock will now be recorded as 500 for 1.40. Once we do it, we will get 100 into 100, 1.20 into 100, 120, and this will be 700. After this is done, we are going to move to the next date that we have. After October 15, we have got October 20, you can see over here. Purchases of 500 were made for 1.50. So October 20, we are going to record October 20. We had purchased 500 units. So we will write 500 over here. And per unit cost was 1.50. We will multiply 500 into 1.50. We have 750. There were no issues on that date. So nothing to write here. So we have right now 500 more units for 1.50, and after multiplying the amount being 750. We're done with October 20. We will move to the next date. October 22 is remaining. 500 were issued. So October 22, I'm going to record October 22 here. So October 22, 500 were issued, no purchases made. So 500 were issued. Now we have to see from where we can get this 500. You can see the latest stock was of 500. So we're going to take this from the latest stock that was 1.50 per unit, which amounts to 750 after multiplying. Now you see from the remaining stock that we had previously, this 500 is gone. So whatever we have before this, that is 100 units of 1 rupee, 100 units of 1.20, and 500 units for 1.40 is what we are left with. So we are going to record it and write it over here: 100, 120, and 700. So this is what we had. This is what we are left with as on October 22. Now we will move to the next date. October is done. We will move to November. November 11. 500 issues were made. So November 11, there were further issue of 500 units. So let's record it. November 11, there were further issue of 500 units. So no payments were made here, no purchases. 500 were issued, 500 units. This 500 will be taken from this most recent lot that we have of 1.40. So if we multiply, it would amount to 700. So basically, This 500 lot, the latest lot is gone. Now what we are left with is the 100 lots of 1 rupee and the 100 lots of 1.20. Amount being 100 and 120. Now we will move to the next date that we have, the last one, that is November 17. November 17, you see 400 units were purchased for 1.60. So let's record it. November 17. On November 17, 400 units were purchased for 1.60. So 400 units were purchased for 1.60. If we multiply 400 into 1.60, we would get 640. There were no issues. So what we are left with is 400 units of 1.60 right now, and that amounts to 640. Therefore, these are the things that are left. This, if we add all of this amount, what we get is the value of the stock, the closing stock amount. So we are going to write the answer this way, that under we have done LIFO. So we're going to write, therefore, under LIFO, let's write it here. Therefore, under LIFO, the cost of the inventory valuation under FIFO system will be, see, check 100 of 1 rupees. So 100 of 1 rupees, 100 of 1.20, and the latest that we had purchased, that was 400 units for the amount being 1.60. So this becomes 100, this is 120, and this one being 640. Add all of this. Once we add all of this, we would get the final amount, that is being 860. This is how we are going to solve inventory valuation under LIFO